Hello everyone, Professor Cicerelli here. Got another grammar video for you today. What we're going to be talking about today are modifiers and two different kinds of mistake that happen with modifiers. One is modifiers being in the wrong place, and the other one is modifiers being what are called dangling, and we'll talk about both of those in much more detail. But videos that I recommend if you have not yet watched videos on prepositions, conjunctions, I will link those up there for you so that you have those. But they're going to be essential for understanding how all this connects, because it's important that we understand and define what a modifier is. And I alluded to it in that other video that I showed you, but I definitely want to spell it out a little more here. And so when we're talking about a modifier, we're talking about a, whoops, there we go. Let me get my pen. When we're talking about a modifier, we're talking about a word or phrase that describes a noun or that describes a verb. Okay, so the modifier, the most common modifier that we talk about as modifying a noun is an adjective, and the most common modifier that we know when it comes to modifying a verb is an adverb. Okay? But we also spoke in that earlier video about phrases being modifiers, prepositional phrases being modifiers, participial phrases being modifiers. And again, if you're not sure what a participle is, you should watch my video on verbs where we talk about that. Okay, but prepositional phrases and participial phrases acting as modifiers. And now the rule that I gave you when it comes to modifiers is that modifiers should be as close to what they are modifying as possible. Okay, we want them to be as close to what they are modifying. The further away they are from the word they're modifying, the noun or the verb that they're modifying, the more awkward the syntax of the sentence will be, and the sentence will be confusing. Okay, so that's what the first issue here is about, placing modifiers carefully. Okay? We want to make sure that that modifier, whether it is a single word like only, okay, which can modify a verb, can modify a noun, it could also even modify other things only. Only could really modify, probably even because even here it's modifying a prepositional phrase. Yeah, I think only could probably modify noun, verb, pretty much anything in a sentence. Your participial phrases are usually going to be modifying a noun. Your prepositional phrase is usually going to be, it's always going to be a noun or a verb, but only is probably an exception there. Okay, but regardless of whether we are talking about a single word like only or a phrase like a prepositional phrase, we want that modifier to be as close to the noun or the word it is modifying as possible. Okay, as close to it. So what does that mean? As close to meaning either immediately before it or immediately after it. Okay, sometimes right before it'll sound better than right after it, depending on the rest of the sentence. You might want to move it one way or the other, but as close to that word or phrase it's modifying as possible. Okay, so let's look at this first sentence here, and we'll go through some book exercises here, but then I have a couple that I want to try with you at the end as usual. Okay, so notice the correction here. We are taking the modifier, which is at the seminar. At the seminar is a prepositional phrase. Okay, prep phrase. Remember we said every prepositional phrase begins with a preposition, obviously, which is at in this case. And at would be a preposition of, well, it could be either space or time. In this case, it's a preposition of space because we're talking about at a seminar. And so we got at is our preposition, the seminar is our object, and together they make up our prepositional phrase. Okay, now in this sentence, the doctor explained advances in cancer treatment to the families of patients at the seminar. Okay. Now, why has this sentence been corrected? Think about it for a second. Have a look at it. Well, when it comes to modifiers, we said that the modifier, we want it to be as close to whatever it is modifying as possible. Now, where it's positioned in the sentence originally, if we ask ourselves the question, what is at the seminar modifying when it is in its original place here? The answer to that is, what is it coming immediately before or immediately after? Well, there is nothing after it, so it's not modifying anything after it. So it's modifying what comes immediately before it, which is patients. Okay, the noun patients. So what's the problem with having at the seminar at the end of the sentence? Well, what it's telling us grammatically, what this sentence is telling us grammatically is that the patients are at the seminar. And they are clearly not. There are cancer treatments being done on them, so they're clearly not at this seminar. They're clearly in a hospital somewhere, right? So who or what is actually at the seminar? Okay. Well, the doctor's at the seminar. The doctor's at the seminar, and he's talking to people who are also at the families who are also at the seminar. Okay, so if we move at the seminar to right after the doctor, look what happens. The doctor at the seminar explained advances in cancer treatment to the families of patients. Much better syntax, much better placement of elements in this sentence because the doctor is the one who's at the seminar. Now, could we also say at the seminar, the doctor explained advances and said, yeah, you could. Immediately before and immediately after. And I think in this case, before at the seminar, the doctor explained, or the doctor at the seminar explained, they both work in this case. Not a problem there. So whether you put at the seminar before doctor or after doctor doesn't matter. Up to you. But the rule still applies. We want at the seminar to be as close to doctor as possible. Okay. Now, look. So that was a case of a prepositional phrase being in the wrong place. A prepositional phrase acting as a modifier being in the wrong place. Okay. Let's jump down. Let's jump down here and look at a single word acting as a modifier. Okay, so only. A triple threat athlete. So triple threat just meaning that she can do many things. A triple threat athlete, Martha only played soccer in college. Okay. So she used to be this triple threat athlete who could do multiple things, but in college she's playing soccer and that's it. Okay. So why have we taken only away from its position here and moved it to over here? Because what are we trying to say? Okay, what we're trying to say is that Martha played one sport. She played one sport, and that sport was soccer. Okay. So, sorry. So, if we want to say, sorry, I misread the sentence. So, if we want to say that she played soccer and soccer alone, okay, then what we want to do is we want to have only being right before soccer. because that'll tell us she played only soccer in college. Okay. Now, what happens if we put she played soccer only in college? How does that change it? Okay. How does the sentence change if we said Martha played soccer only in college versus Martha played only soccer in college? You think about it? Okay. What it's telling us, if we said she played only soccer in college, that she played one sport in college, and that sport was soccer. Okay. She played only one sport in college, and that sport was soccer. If we said she played soccer only in college, what does that tell us? Well, that tells us that doesn't mean she only played one sport in college, or she played only one sport in college. Okay? What it says, what she played soccer only in college means is that the first time she played soccer was in college. She played soccer only in college. At no other time. So only is, in the case of this sentence where we have the modifier, we have only the modifier placed here, and only is modifying the prepositional phrase in college. In college is a prepositional phrase. It happens to be a preposition of, I would say time, because it has to do with time. Okay, a time in her life, her college years, right? And so what only in college is telling us is that only during the time of college did she play soccer. Okay? She never played it previously. And in this first sentence, we also don't know whether Martha is playing other sports in college as well. All we know is she's played soccer only in college and never at any other time. In this sentence, it's telling us she's only playing one sport in college, and it is soccer. Okay, and you see that by the position of the modifier. So what you see here is how the positioning of a modifier can change the meaning of a sentence. Now you might think this isn't that big of a deal. You're like, Professor Cicerelli, I mean, are we really, if we move the word one place, are we really going to be, is it really that confusing? And the answer is yeah. If you're not there to explain to your reader what you mean, right? We have a luxury now when I'm talking to you. I'm able to say, well, maybe she meant this, or maybe I meant that, or I didn't mean that. When someone is reading your sentences, they don't have you there to explain what things mean. All they have to go on is, what is the grammar of the sentence telling me? And the grammar of this first sentence is telling me something very different than the grammar of the second sentence. Okay, so you want, with placement of words, with syntax, with punctuation, you want all of that to convey meaning for you, because you are not there to explain to the reader. Okay. All right, now let's talk. So we just talked about a prepositional phrase being in the wrong place. Okay, we talked about a single word modifier being in the wrong place, a prepositional phrase modifier being in the wrong place. Let's talk about, there isn't really an example here. I wish there were an example here of a participial phrase being in the wrong place. Maybe I'll write you one. Okay. I'll write you one, because there should be one here. Okay, so let's imagine this is our, I'll put it over here. Okay, so this will be an example of a participial phrase in the wrong place. Okay, we looked at a prepositional phrase in the wrong place, single word being in the wrong place, and now a misplaced participial phrase. So, Let me move that a little bit. Let me stretch that out so it's a little, okay, better. Okay, so we've got a fairly simple sentence here. And actually, if you look at the sentence, we did talk in that video, and I'll link it up here. We did talk in that video about the 4 kinds of sentences. This is a simple sentence. This would count as a simple sentence. We only have one independent clause here with some other stuff attached to it, so it's a simple sentence. Where is my participial phrase? It's here, walking home. More specifically, walking is a present participle, so if we want to be real technical, this is a present participial phrase. It is a present participle, walking, and then attached to the object home. Okay. So now, why do I say this? I don't want to say for sure this is in the wrong place, but depending on what I'm trying to convey, okay, depending on what meaning I'm trying to convey here, this may be a misplaced modifier. So grammatically, what is this sentence telling us? Who or what, or I should say who is doing the walking home here? Grammatically. Okay, who is doing the walking home grammatically? Is it she or is it the neighbor? Grammatically. Okay. If you said she, you're wrong. The neighbor. Okay, the neighbor, grammatically, the neighbor is the one who is doing the walking, because who is that modifier closest to? Well, the answer is the neighbor. Okay. Now, if that's not the case, if it's the case that she is the one walking home, and as she's walking home, she's saying hello to her neighbor, which is probably the case. She's walking home, and then she's maybe passing her neighbor in the yard, and she's saying hello. Okay? If that's what we mean, then this is a misplaced modifier. This is in the wrong place. Okay? So let's assume for the sake of this example, that we want the she in this case to be the one walking home. Okay? Then now, how do I fix this misplaced modifier? I have to move it. It's got to be as close to she as possible, which means, whoops, didn't mean that. Oh, it's always hard to erase. It's always hard to erase with that. It means that I need to move walking home up to the front of the sentence. Walking home, she said hello to her neighbor. Now, could we also say she, walking home, said hello to her neighbor? We could, but if you could avoid separating a subject from its verb, that's usually a good idea. So probably better, it sounds better to me, and it avoids having to separate the subject from its verb. If you just said walking home, she said hello to her neighbor. Okay. But now the syntax of that sentence, now the positioning of that modifier is in the right place. Okay. So those are both examples. Those 3 examples we looked at: a prepositional phrase in the wrong place, a single word modifier in the wrong place, and then a participial phrase modifier in the wrong place. And they just need to be moved. Okay, you need to actually identify what in the sentence is being described or modified, and then that is what that modifier should be closest to. Okay. So let's erase that, and let's look at a dangling. So that was a misplaced modifier, or a modifier being in the wrong place. So what is it? What's a dangling modifier? A dangling modifier is a slightly different mistake. A dangling modifier is when the modifier that's in the sentence, whether it's prepositional, participial, the actual word that should be modified in the sentence isn't there. Okay? That's what a dangling modifier is. When we have the actual word that should be modified is not in the sentence. So when we say the modifier is dangling, the modifier is sort of reaching out. We imagine we personify these modifiers. The modifier is reaching out for the modifier is reaching out to describe its noun, and the noun it's never there. We never get to it. Okay, so the modifier is sort of just hanging on and is never quite getting to the word it should be modifying. Okay. So have a look at this example here. Speaking simply and respectfully. So let's have a look. Okay. What kind of modifier is that? It's an ing. It's a participial phrase. Participial. More specifically, present participial. Okay. Now, grammatically, what is it modifying? It's modifying whatever is coming immediately after it. Okay. Whatever is coming immediately after it. So speaking simply and respectfully, many people felt comforted by the doctor's presentation. Okay. What do you notice? Okay. Many people. They are the ones, grammatically in this sentence, they are the ones who are speaking simply and respectfully. But this is clearly not what the sentence means. What the sentence means is that there's a doctor doing a presentation here, and it's the doctor that's actually speaking simply and respectfully. Okay? As a result of the doctor speaking simply and respectfully, the people are feeling comforted. Okay? But the syntax of this sentence, the placement of the modifier here, the actual noun, the subject in this case, that should be modified, which is doctor, is not in the sentence. His presentation is a noun that's in the sentence, but he himself isn't in this sentence. So we need to rewrite this sentence, and that's what the example is showing you here. Rewrite this sentence so that our doctor is the subject, and he is the one who is doing the simple speaking and the simple and respectful speaking. Okay. So look at the way the book rewrote that sentence. Speaking simply and respectfully, the doctor comforted many people with his presentation. Okay, the doctor comforted many people with his presentation. Okay. Solves the problem now, because now what is coming immediately after speaking simply and respectfully? It's the doctor, and that makes sense. That makes sense. He is the one who's doing the presentation, and the people there are the ones feeling comforted. They're the ones hearing the presentation. So the syntax of this sentence makes sense now. Okay. So one way to fix a dangling modifier is we add that subject, or we add whatever that word that should be modified is into the sentence. Okay. We could add it like this, by adding it right after the modifier. Or we could add that subject, whatever that word is, to the modifier itself, and you'll see that that's what is happening here in the second example. So before the edit, let's look at it. While running to catch the bus, the shoulder strap on my bag broke. Okay. Why is this a problem? Without the edit, why is this a problem? Well, we have another present participial phrase here. What is it modifying grammatically? The shoulder strap. Now this doesn't make grammatical sense, because a shoulder strap is not the thing that's running to catch the bus. Okay, I am the one who is running to catch the bus. So there should be a person in this sentence who's doing the running to catch the bus. But you'll notice there is no person grammatically in the sentence. All we have is a shoulder strap, and then we have, that's it really, a shoulder strap on a bag breaking. We don't have a person grammatically. So we could rewrite this. We could say, if we want to try and solve it like we did in the first sentence, we could say, while running to catch the bus, I noticed the shoulder strap on my bag broke. Okay, that works, because now we have while running to catch the bus, I noticed. I is the one who's doing the running. Makes grammatical sense. The modifier is no longer dangling. It's no longer reaching for its appropriate noun. It's right there. It's coming right after it. You could also, as the book suggests here, you could also add while I was running to catch the bus. So you're inserting the subject right into the modifier itself. While I was running to catch the bus, the shoulder strap on my bag broke. So actually what you're doing by adding while I was running, you're actually changing this participial phrase. Leave me a comment down below. I want to see if you know what happened here. I have a participial phrase here. Remember what a phrase is. Go back and watch that video on phrases and clauses. I have a participial phrase here. I've added a subject and I've added a helping verb, was. So I've taken that participial phrase and I've actually turned it into something else. I've turned it into a certain clause that we've talked about before. Let me know if you think you know what it is, leave it down in the comments. But either one of those fixes works. Okay? Either one of those fixes works. Okay, so we've talked about dangling modifiers. When that modifier it's not in the wrong place. It's just it's the word it's modifying that it should be modifying is not in the sentence and needs to be added to it. In the case of misplaced modifiers, let's clear that out. Let's clear that mess. In the case of misplaced modifiers, the modifier is not in the right place and the modifier needs to be moved. Okay. All right. Let's look at a couple of sentences. I'm going to do a couple of these with you, and then I want to have you do them down below. So let's look at some of these. So we've got a couple of sentences here, and in some of the cases you've got a dangling modifier, and in other cases you've got a misplaced modifier. Okay. So let's look at how about we do this? Let's do 1 and 2 together, and then you'll do down in the comments, you'll do 3 down in the comments, do 4 down in the comments, and then do 8. Yeah, and then do 8. So do 3, 4, and 8. Okay? But together we'll do 1 and 2. Okay, we will do 1 and 2 together. Get my pen. Okay. All right, so the car on the bridge, which is green, is mine. Ooh, we've got a lot of, okay. Syntax of this sentence is a mess. Let's look at it. Okay, so we've got a couple of, let's look at our modifiers here. On the bridge is 1. Which is green is another. Okay. On the bridge is a prepositional phrase. Okay. Which is green is a modifier. This I would count this as a which is a relative pronoun. So this is another way we didn't talk about this, but this is another way you could introduce adjective information into sentences with a relative pronoun like which, that, which, who, whom, which we've spoken about that. So which is green is another way of introducing a modifier or adjective information, and the exact same rule applies. I mean, we didn't go into specific detail about it because the rules for that the rules are exactly the same as placing a prepositional phrase or a participial phrase. We want that modifier to be as close to the word it is modifying as possible. Okay. Now let's look at the sentence. So right now, grammatically, the car is on the bridge. Okay. That makes sense. Which is green? What is which is green modifying? Where is it placed? Okay. What is it closest to in the sentence? It's the bridge. Okay. So if we mean the bridge is green, then the sentence is fine. I suspect it's probably not, though. I suspect the person is talking about the car. So let's assume this person is talking about a green car. Okay? that the car is his, and we also have to assume that the bridge doesn't belong to whoever this person is, right? So the bridge doesn't belong to this person. The car belongs to this person, and it's the car that is green. So how would we fix this? Okay, what could we do? I mean, you might be thinking, well, couldn't we just get rid of which is and just say the green car? We could do that. That would probably be an easier fix. But let's keep it exact. Let's keep it exactly the way it is. You think of the fix? Okay, right here, this is putting on the bridge right after car is leading us to some confusion. But all we said is that prepositional phrase on the bridge just needs to be as close to what it's modifying. It is modifying the car in this case, so we could just as easily put it before the car. On the bridge, the car, which is green, is mine. Okay. Now we've got a better, clearer syntax. Okay. Would it probably be better to say the green car on the bridge is mine? Yeah, probably. Or on the bridge, the green car is mine. You know, that could work too. But if we want to keep the sentence exactly the same, on the bridge, the car, which is mine, is green. Okay. Okay. So now all of our modifiers are in the right place. And what would that be? That would be an example of misplaced. Misplaced modifier. Okay, let's look at this second one. Expecting confusion, our plans were made. Okay. Expecting confusion, what is that grammatically? That's our modifier. Okay, that's our modifier. It's not a prepositional phrase. It is a participial phrase. It's a present participial phrase. Okay. In fact, it looks like most of the examples of modifier participial phrases in here are present participial. I don't see any past looking through. So, expecting confusion, our plans were made. So now, in this sentence, grammatically, expecting confusion is modifying what? It's modifying whatever word is closest to it, immediately before, immediately after it. There's nothing before it, so immediately after it, our plans. Plans cannot expect confusion. Only people could expect confusion. But there are no people in this sentence grammatically. There are no people. All we have are plans. That's our subject. So this is why, and so we know because there are no people in this sentence, this modifier is dangling. It's dangling because it's reaching out and it's wanting to latch onto people in the sentence, and it's not getting those people. So it's just sort of left hanging there. Okay. So now how do we fix it? You could add it to, you could add it here. You could add it to the modifier itself. Okay. Or you could add it after, as we saw, just a reminder, as we saw over here when we looked at this one. Sorry for the mess. As we saw here, that we could add it to the modifier, or we could add it after it. Same thing we can do here. Okay, so looking at expecting confusion, so let's add it to the modifier itself. Because we were expecting confusion, our plans were made. Because we people, we were expecting confusion, our plans were made. Fine, that works. But we could also add, so that was me adding because I was putting we over here. But I could also add, if I could didn't want to have we there, and I wanted to instead add my subject over here, the appropriate subject here, I could say, expecting confusions, we made our plans. Okay? Now, if I put we made our plans, we made our plans. Now, we is the closest to expecting confusion, and that makes grammatical sense because we can expect confusion. We are people, so people can expect confusion, so that now the sentence makes grammatical sense. The modifier is no longer dangling, it's no longer reaching out for its noun, for its appropriate subject. It's right there. Okay? All right, so you are going to try on your own. You're going to try 3, you're going to try 4, and you're going to try 8. So as you're trying those down in the comments below, write whether we have a misplaced modifier or a dangling modifier. You don't have both. You won't have both in any of these sentences. You could have both, but not in these sentences, that's not the case. So write whether it is a dangling modifier or a misplaced modifier, and then fix it. Rewrite it so that the error no longer exists, and the error exists. There's an error in every single one of the sentences. So if you read through it and you think, well, there doesn't seem like there's anything wrong with it, well, then read again, because every single one of them's got a problem with it. So try 3, try 4, and try 8, and leave me those comments down below. Also, just reminding you, just a reminder, if you find this content useful, you want me to keep doing videos, give me a thumbs up, keep me motivated. If there's a topic you want me to cover, let me know, leave me that down in the comments below, and I'll see you guys next week with another video. Thanks.